Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to another fantastic episode of Ask the Knights Live. Thank you all for coming back, if you are coming back, and thank you, first off, if this is your first show. We really enjoy having new viewers come and see us and see what we're all about, so thank you once again. All right, so if you don't know too much about this show, first, a couple of warnings. First, we are an adults show. We do use a little bit of strong language here or there. Not as a matter of course, but sometimes it happens. So just a little warning to all you youngins out there. If you are watching and your parents are letting you, it's because you're cool. Other than that, we are not an official broadcast of the Society for Creative Anachronism. And so the views expressed on this show are those of the participants only and not those of the society as a whole. So with those things out of the way, I have to say one more thing. Remember, this show works only because of you, our lovely viewers. The first half of the show, I get to ask all my mundane questions or silly questions. The second half of the show are your questions. So make sure that you put those questions into our chat so we can get them up and get them ready for the second half of the show. Don't forget to use or include your SCA name and title so that I can murder it relentlessly and destroy it because, that's what I do. I'm terrible at people's names. And we always pick the easiest names. Okay, so with all that put away, let's go ahead and welcome this week's guest. Come on in, gents. How are you this evening?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for being here. We're so happy to have you here on the show this evening. Without too much further ado, how about we just go ahead and let you guys introduce yourselves, and we'll get straight into the questions.
Duke Balfar, Master by Right of Arms, Pelican, been King of the East 4 times. That's about it.
Welcome to the show.
I'm Duke Edmund of Hartford. I'm from the Middle Kingdom, Barony Middle Marches, Canton of Ferderstadt, Knight, Pelican, Bronze Ring, which is a grant level rapier award. I'm a member of the Greenwood Company, which is our grant level archery award. And my lady has been queen 6 times.
Oh, my. Well, thank you again, gentlemen, for agreeing to be on the show and to get grilled by myself and our fantastic audience. So without further ado, let's get to those questions, shall we? So as any long-term viewer of this show will know, my first question is just about always the same. Well, yeah, it always is the same. And I want to know how you guys got started in the SCA.
I was hanging out in my local comic and gaming shop, talking to the owner about some superhero game called Champions. And this dude overheard me. And he's like, "Hey, I play that game. Why don't you come play with us?" And so I did. Started hanging out with him and some other guys. And he started talking about this summer job program for college kids. And he was working at the water department. I got a job, and we ended up in the same truck together on the midnight shift. And he started talking about this club where they get to hit each other with swords. And that sounded pretty damn good to me. And we started going, he took me out to a meeting and took me over to meet the marshal. And that's where it's been ever since.
Cool. How about you, Rick?
Not too far difference. My thing is I was a D&D geek. I was in high school, was into D&D, got into Tolkien, bunch of stuff like that. My girlfriend at the time said, "Hey, I saw this flyer. There's a bunch of people that they get together and they actually hit each other." And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute. People, they're hitting each other and the cops aren't getting called." So we went to what was kind of an event / demo. From there, went to a few baronial meetings, my first fighter practice. That was it. I could actually swing and hit somebody. for real. And nobody's calling the cops or nothing. Oh man, I'm in.
They're actually like patting you on the back and saying, "Good shot."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know the feeling. It's yeah. This is one of the best hobbies. Well, the hobby that's made out of hobbies. It's one of the best ones in the entire. All right, so let's go on to our next question, which is, of course, what keeps you coming back after all these years of being in the SCA, playing and doing all this fantastic stuff, events? What makes you come back?
In my case, due to mundane job and stuff, I actually kind of backed away from the SCA for probably 4 or 5 years. Life was getting a little too real. Job was just nuts. I was working 10, 11 hours a day. Spent most of my weekends just recovering from work. And an ex-squire of mine who got knighted said, listen, I went to this LARP recently and I found these kids that really want to try this. He said, can you come to practice on Thursday? Come on down and just give me a hand training them. Giving these kids, there's like 5 of them. So I went to practice, started, talking to these guys, and these kids' eyes lit up. I mean, I took one of the smaller ones, and I showed him how to throw a flat snap and a little bit of work into it, and he had it down pat. And the look in his eye and just his whole body language kind of brought me back to being that D&D nerd. And I looked at that. He said, oh my God, this is the greatest thing that I've ever done. I said, dude, that's just a flat snap. You ain't seen nothing yet, son. Wait till we get into rap shots and stuff. You have no idea what's coming. And I kind of fed off of them. And I just came back, jumped in both feet, and just it kind of got infectious. The new kids got me back in.
That's cool. Very, very cool.
So for me, I've invested a lot of money in medieval stuff, and so I got to use it. Otherwise, the wife throws me out. No, over the years, you build a lot of relationships, and you find a lot of things that are interesting. And you said at the opening of the show, the hobby with a lot of hobbies, and most of the things I like to do, I can do in the SCA. I mean, I get to play with swords. I get to shoot archery. I've got an excuse to make fancy clothes. I get to drink and hang out with people and talk and talk and talk. And, there's just that connection to all the fun activities and all the fun people. And, I was a, nerdy kid, grew up in Northern Illinois in the middle of nowhere. And now I have friends that are dear friends in Connecticut, North Carolina, Florida, Arizona, California, you name it, that, at the drop of a hat would, let me stay in their house, or I'd let them stay in my house. Half of them, I don't know their real name or what they do for a living, but because we've shared time at an event, you've got that connection that you just can't really get anywhere else. And so getting back to see those folks, and then, the SCA has given me a whole heck of a lot. I mean, I've met my wife in the SCA. It helped me build confidence in who I am and to be able to speak publicly. Just a lot of skills I've picked up in the SCA. And, it's my job to make sure that somebody else gets to have that experience and help shepherd them along into being able to do the same things.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic answer. Although I have to disagree with you on one thing. If you'll pardon my impudence, I think that you do know their true names, because nobody has a truer name than the one that they choose for themselves. I've always thought that, like, I end up, even when I know my SCA friends' real names, I end up usually calling them by their SCA names, even outside of the SCA, because that's their chosen name. I think that that's as real as you can get. But that's just my personal opinion, and nobody's here to hear my opinion. So
but that's not the name you can put on a police report.
Oh, well.
Why do you think I'm here? So there's less of those police reports.
Well, that is a good point. I hadn't thought about that. All right. So we're going to jump into a couple of questions that I like to ask because there's a lot of N-Belts who watch this show. In fact, I started this show for the N-Belts so that they can get to know the Knights better, so they would have maybe less trouble coming up and talking to you if they knew you on a little more personal basis, right? So I want to know, what was your biggest hurdle as an unbelt? Like, what was that thing that was holding you back from attaining the chivalry?
I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure it was that I was an arrogant ass and wasn't very quiet about it. I knew how good I was, and I made sure other people knew it, and I ran my mouth a bit. And it's one of those things where you get some success coupled with a lack of social skills, and there's bound to be problems. And luckily, over time, I learned some social skills.
You are not the first knight to have said that.
In my case, I kind of backed into everything. I hit the point where I knew I could fight, and I was at that point really. I spent a lot of time doing a lot of melee stuff with pole arms and great swords and stuff, and I picked up fighting 2-weapon. And at the time in the East Kingdom, there was a way that most of the chivalry fought 2-weapon. And when I put thrusting tips on the end of my swords, pretty much without exception, every one of them that would say anything to me just told me, "Why are you doing that? It's stupid. You're going to keep tearing them off. They're useless." And I always told them the same thing. I got an idea. Let me try something. The first time I took a left-handed thrusting tip and hit somebody in the stomach hard enough to fold them in half, people started really looking, going, "Wait a minute, what the hell was that?" And I was getting some confidence with it. Really, really thought that I could possibly get to this point. And I went to my very first crown tournament, never even seen one. I was like, well, I'm at the point now. I think I could actually compete. I want to get out there. I want to get seen. I'm just hitting that point where I want to do this. Mm-hmm. And I went into that crown and I won it. And I'm sitting here going, oh, crap. What now? Remember what Edmund said about the ability to learn how to speak publicly? I didn't have that for nothing. I didn't know what I was doing. Luckily, the monarchs that were on the throne at that point were two of the best people I've ever met in the SCA, Duke Randall and Duchess Catherine. Really cool people. My wife and I spent 6 months following them around like puppy dogs trying to figure out what was going on. I did my first reign, and I got knighted when I stepped down. I really kind of backed my way into it.
Right. So I'll throw this question at you. Mm-hmm. What was the hardest thing once you had the belt? What was the hardest thing for you to learn after being knighted?
I would say probably keeping my mouth shut and listening. One of the first chivalry meetings, I went in there and I made what I thought was a fairly obvious statement about something that was going on between members of chivalry, kind of a politics thing. Mm-hmm. And unbeknownst to me, this was a long-standing issue that had been going on for decades, and I had no idea what the hell was going on. And I looked like a moron. So everyone's like, what are you talking about? These two have been doing this for ages. And I was like, I don't know. What the hell? And I learned real quick, shut up, listen. Figure out what's going on before you open your trap. That was That was probably the one that hit the hardest and was just, it hit hard, was really obvious right out of the gate.
How about you, Sir Edmund? Was there
For me, it was really a continuation of that learning how to talk to people and learning what to say and how to say it and what not to say. Because, you know, I wasn't comfortable in my own skin per se, even after being knighted. I mean, you know, to an extent, that's a little bit of a validation, but it doesn't give you magical powers to be smooth and suave in every situation.
Oh, ain't that a fact?
I mean, it took me a while to learn how to talk to people the right way and not come off as a mean jerk or, you know, to be scary, because I'm pretty tall, and so people are naturally intimidated by just because I'm tall. I'm not trying to be that way. It just happens, and so it took me a long time to just build those social skills. I mean, and I still work on it today. It's still a work in progress. But just being able to talk to people in a manner that makes them not go, "Wow, what a jerk."
Yeah, I work on that every day. Not working too great. Trust me. I'll tell you. Well, no, Cal's not going to tell you because we don't let him talk on this show. We'll go on to our next question.
You can't stop me, Logan. I have the power of things.
There he goes. See, I had to say something. I knew
You had to do it, didn't you? You jinxed yourself.
Yep. All right, gents. Let's talk about your first tournament. So what was your first tournament and how did you feel? And then how did that feeling change during the day? Like from the beginning, starting that very first tournament to towards the end, did you start off nervous and feel better afterwards or vice versa?
So the first tournament I went to was Warriors Day in Yarvettler back in 1986, and it was a warlord tourney. So it means you got to fight every round, and you fought one guy first round, then next round the two of you were a team, and then the next round the four of you were a team. And I mean, I was new. I had a 26-inch, 55-gallon drum lid for a shield. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yep.
I've been fighting not a month. I mean, I was literally the first guy to die in every melee. I think I was the first guy to die in some of the other melees too. I mean, it was just bad. But I hung in there. I had a good helmet, and so that went a long way. But I was getting to play with swords, man. I could have died 5 million times that day, and it wouldn't have made a bit of difference because it was so cool. But that event, I didn't really know what to expect from an event. My friend had kind of told me, and I had fought, so I knew that much was going to happen. But that event, the king and queen were there, and we got feast tickets. And during the day, I got the king held the field, and I got to fight the king. And that night, there was feast, and there was bread that was amazing. I'd never had bread like this before. Oh, I never had white bread, sliced white bread. And so there's like this dark, weedy bread that was amazing. And then after the feast, I got to dance with the queen. And I'm like, how can it get any better than this? I got to fight, I got to dance with the queen. What more is there for me to do? I mean, this is amazing. And I'm like,
and awesome bread.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back every time. This was great.
Oh, wow. Talk about opposites.
Oh,
God. My first tournament, I had spent probably close to a year trying to get authorized. A lot of our fighting practices was hanging around, waiting till the guys that were fighting would get out of their armor, and then they would throw their sweaty armor on you. So you got to go out there and pre-sweat armor. The armor I usually got was from this one guy in particular that came down. The body armor came down just above my knees. The leg armor was just ridiculous. And I'm walking around out there. I could barely move my arms. And for the most part, I'd say I went to probably 4 different fighting practices where the guy in charge would stand there and look at everybody else and say, okay, this is a light shot. And he would just slam me right in the side of the helmet. I'm sitting there going, this is light? Wow. Damn. This is a killing shot. And then I get up off the ground going, what the hell? So I put up with almost close to a year of that. And I get to my first tournament. And I'm all jazzed. I'm like, yeah, I'm borrowing somebody, like 4 different people's armor. And I'm out there. I'm like, this is going to be great. And I go out there and one of the local guys, it's a little local nothing tourney. I don't even remember what it was anymore. It's a little local baronial tourney in Portland, Connecticut. And I walk out there and I'm fighting. I mean, me and this guy that's been doing it for years, we're exchanging shots. This is great. And I crack him right in the head. And he looks at me and goes, nope, and just about knocked me out. And I kind of got up off the ground. It's like, wow, that sucked. Okay, note to self, never stop. The next guy I fought was another local guy, and I must have hit him about 7 times. Nothing. Eventually, he hit me in the leg while I was down on my knees, damn near concussed me. And I'm laying there thinking, why again am I doing this? What the hell? And I literally didn't fight in the SCA for another 4 years after that.
Oh.
Kept going to events, kept doing stuff. And then in 86, I came back. I was still going to events and stuff. And my wife looked at me and goes, come on, just go do it. Just try it again. And what I wanted to do, I never got a chance to do, is I wanted to fight in a Penzic War. I had been to them, I'd seen it, I'd watched it, never actually done it. And I was told that up by the Mass border in Yukon, Storrs, Connecticut, there was a practice every Sunday, and there was like 99% of the time there were at least 2 marshals there so you could get authorized. So I went around to everybody I knew. Once again, 3 or 4 different people. I borrowed enough armor. I run up there. And I had been fighting. They weren't called LARPs back then. They were called Balfar events.
Yep.
There were no spell components or anything. It was just people running around with PVC weapons beating the crap out of each other in the woods.
Yeah.
So I went up to Storrs, got there, and decided, well, let me see what I can do. And unbeknownst to me is I'm actually going up against like guys that have been fighting for 5-10 years. They're on their path to knighthood, and I'm actually giving them competition. They're trying to figure out where did this guy come from that's trying to get authorized, and why are we having to fight this hard? And I ended up hooking up with, of all people, a guy by the name of Edmund Beerslayer. He is insane. He is a great guy. I hooked up with him, and my entire viewpoint of SCA fighting turned around at that one practice. I realized these guys are my kind of insane.
Nice. So let me just, before we get on to our next questions here, we're getting close to the midway point, but
Okay.
You both bring up a really good point with your disparate events here. You know, one, you had a really, really fun time, and the other, it seems like, you know, you were met by, well, gatekeeper mentality. Why is it so important to make sure that we don't discourage the new folks? Like, why, in your own opinion, why is that important?
In my opinion, it's hurtful to us as an entire group. Our existence kind of relies on new people coming in. If we're going to keep fighting, people age out of fighting. There comes a point where you can't take the normal fighting abuse anymore. If we want to continue to teach and grow this sport, we got to have new people. My experiences in the very beginning of the SCA has instilled, if nothing else, one overarching ethos of mine. I do not abide SCA bullies. If you're coming to my practice or someplace where I am to beat the crap out of new people because you can, I'm going to show you quite what I can do to you because I can. I always tell all of my new guys that are coming in, all of my squires, everybody I've ever taught, the main rule I teach them is don't be a dick. Be nice, be respectful. Everybody has their own viewpoint as to what's going on. Don't denigrate anybody simply because you don't agree with them.
Excellent.
Yeah, see, on my road to that very first event, I had a couple little bumps in there. And I kind of got put on display, not so much the bullying side of it, but the welcoming side of it. My buddy took me to the Shire meeting, and it was at somebody's house because that's what we did back then. We didn't have
ours were too, same thing. Yeah.
So we go into somebody's living room, and we're the only two people who have any interest in fighting in the room. And they have, there's the Shire meeting, and I don't know what's going on. I'm just kind of sitting there trying to absorb stuff. And then we talk about, well, I want to fight and get authorized in time for Penzic. Now, keep in mind, this is May. So you have to authorize by the end of July in order to fight at Penzic. So my goal is a little bit extreme at this point, but not undoable.
Right.
And you're like, oh, no, you'll never be able to fight in time for Penzic, and you can't do it, and it's just not possible. And they were very negative vibes and just not overly welcoming to a fighter person because they were all non-fighters and their interests were elsewhere. And I'm like, why do I want to hang out with these people? My buddy's like, wait, there's one more guy you got to meet. He took me over to the marshal's house. A fellow who now is Master Terrence of Tyndale. He's a mod and a Laurel and a Baron. And he opens the door, and there's this hippie pirate dude with an earring, a bandana, wearing a sleeves cut off on his T-shirt. He's like, hey, guys, I got a breastplate in the oven. You want to come in? Hey, have a beer. And I walk in, and he's got this bearskin rug on his wall with like 8 gazillion swords hanging up. I'm like, all right, now we're talking. This is and he sat down and showed me armor and talked about fighting and just got what I was trying to get into and started pushing my buttons in a welcoming way. And that was the immediate lesson of when a new person comes in, what's their groove? How do you make them feel welcome? How do you make them feel there's a place for me here? Because not everybody wants to come in and fight. Not everybody's gonna fit in with this group or that group. You gotta help them find a niche that's gonna make them stick. It's gonna get their feet in that cement and they're gonna stay forever.
Excellent. Well said, both of you. All right, gents. We have hit exactly our halfway point. And we're going to take a real quick break before we get to the second half of the show. But before we do, I have to say one thing. So you guys were talking about people aging out of, fighting and everything. Well, we have Duke Fleeg out here. And,
Fleeg!
Yeah,
he's a great guy.
Fleeg, yeah, he's a great guy. He's normally watches the show. I hope he's watching tonight. Because I'm on to you. I'm on to you. Yeah, you said you're going into the hospital to get surgery and everything. Hip replacement. Yeah, you're going to get cyborg enhancements so you can come back onto the field and beat me up again. I am on to you. Just kidding. Fleeg, if you're watching, I hope that you are healing up well. I know everyone in the West sends their well wishes, and everyone who knows you around the entire known world sends their best to you. So heal up soon because, events are going to start up eventually. and we need you there. So we have actually an official sponsor now here on Ask the Knights Live. Our good friends over at Tradewinds of the Levant have decided that this is the show that needs their sponsorship, and I agree. I think that they do a wonderful job over there of making the SCA look a little bit more historical, actually a lot more historical on a really good budget. So let's go ahead and see what they have to offer, shall we? All right, we are back, and thank you to Tradewinds of the Levant for being our official sponsor of Ask the Knights Live. All right, so now it is time, gentlemen, to get our viewer submitted questions. Oh boy, we always get some good ones, and I haven't even had a chance to look at them yet. So let us take a look and see what we have here. Oh, so this is from one of our favorite people. This is Thomas Kenrickson. He's a squire. He's a fan of the show, and we're a fan of him. He always sends us in some really good questions. So his question is, what part of franchise do you find mean the most to you? Now, the Knightly Virtue franchise has a lot that goes into it. So any thoughts on what about franchise is the most important part of it?
The way I look at it, and maybe it's a little bit of a modern view to our medieval game, but peers, knights, royal peers are kind of the celebrities of the club to an extent. A lot of people want their time; they want to talk to them. There's a lot that the peers have to offer, and so I look at it as it's my job to put on a good display of what a peer should be, and to make sure that I'm doing things that engage others in having fun. To reach out to people and drag them into the fun, or come up with some way for people to get involved in the fun. And put myself up as as somebody who used to have a lot of trouble being laughed at as a nerdy kid growing up. I now use myself as the foil for the fun. And hey, look at this silly thing I'm doing. You could do it too. It's a fun time, and just try to do that. Just try to bring people into the fun.
Well said.
For my case, mostly what I've tried to do is try to be as approachable as I can. Kind of where Edmund was is I want people that are thinking about the SA or seeing it for the first time to think that they can come up and talk to anybody.
Mhm.
I want the local people that that's all they've ever wanted to do is just hang out and just do local stuff, never want to get involved with anything more than that, to feel that, okay, well, this, like Edmund said, we are in a way in our own little clique kind of celebrities ish. And they're like, well, I can go up and talk to this dude. Well, yeah, you can. What's up? What do you need? Locally, I tend to be kind of an information source. People go, well, what happened here? Or how do we do this? I love that kind of stuff. Like, I'll go through a lot of events and stuff, and for the most part, I don't use hardly any of my titles. People will show up at like a practice or something, and I will intentionally use my mundane name most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, somebody will mention, oh yeah, he's been king like 4 times, dude. They're like, what? Wait, no, him? I was just talking with him. Like, yeah. I hate to disappoint you. We all kind of put our pants on one leg at a time. We're real people too. You want to sit down and have a chat, please. For me, it's kind of service. I'm with what Edmund said. I'm here to try to make other people have as much fun as I am. I want the new kid walking in for the first time to be able to just walk in and go, wow. I have stood at, I run an event, well, up until recently, every spring, a big, massive melee event. And I have been on the sidelines marshaling and talking to people and stuff. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, I'm new. I'm thinking about a name. I'm thinking about this. And, I'll give them some advice. Oh, that sounds good. Or, this kind of comic booky, maybe try and change it a little bit. This is a little more period kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Try to give them constructive ideas and stuff. And then I introduce myself and they're like, wait a minute, this event, that's the name on this event. Yeah, that's me.
Well, I think that's important though, because that shows them that, hey, I was just talking to a regular guy, and
exactly.
This regular guy is running this event.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows them, like, especially new folks. Well, maybe in a little while I can run this event or an event like this.
Yep.
Which I think is just as important as, showing someone how to throw a flat snap for the first time.
Yep.
Because we all run on service here, right? So, speaking of new people, we have a newer person, and the question actually goes, this is from Lord Grim, I'm going to say this wrong, Grimbor of Gutharian. See, I'm terrible with names. I'm really terrible with names. I'm a newer person in the SCA, so how exactly does one keep the game fun for such a time as your graces have been involved? I think this guy just called you old. I'm not trying to start anything.
He ain't the first. He ain't going to be the last either. And it's still better. Getting old is still better than the alternative. Well, I think I kind of answered it earlier. I keep the game fun is by finding new people and basically feeding off their energy, man.
Mm-hmm.
I look at them. I show them everything I can. I tell people all the time, there is no such thing as a stupid question. It's just something you don't know the answer to. Ask a question. The worst thing I'm going to tell you is I have no idea. I mean,
but you might know somebody who has the answer.
Yeah, exactly. And the other half of that is I probably know somebody that has an answer to that. Haven't been around enough. It's like, oh, well, I have no idea, but go talk to that guy over there.
How about you, Sir Edmund? How do you keep it fun after all these years?
Well, so I really love the people and the game that we play, but I get fresh ideas and fresh directions every so often. Like I've changed the history of my persona, like the period that I do 4 or 5 times. I've started new projects, new endeavors. I mean, there's the SCA is this beautiful field full of giant rabbit holes that you can just fall down, and then it branches off into this other rabbit hole. And I mean, no matter how much stuff you've done in the SCA, there's something you haven't done yet, and it's
that's
cool.
a fact.
It's
Yep.
cool, and there's somebody that knows how to do it, and I think I know someone who can help me figure this out.
Yep.
And people are really generous with, if you show the faintest interest in something somebody's doing, they are more than willing to walk you through the process, talk to you about the research they've done, tell you why they do it. And it comes back to that meta hobby concept that you brought up at the beginning of the show. If you run out of new things to try in the SCA, either all you do is SCA 24/7, 365, or you just aren't interesting. You gotta take that straw and jam it into that juice box that is the SCA and suck that puppy dry. And it's a big juice box.
Hey Cal, I think we need to put that on a t-shirt. It's a juice box that just says SCA on it, and then a hand with the straw just getting ready to plunge down into it.
I want my residuals on that.
No, we got you. Suck that puppy dry. Yeah, there you go. Right underneath it. Right. That's awesome. All right, so we have our next one, and this one is from Thing Samil from the Mid-Realm. See, that one was easy. How have your perspectives of the SCA shifted since you started? Apparently, I can't talk tonight.
I mean, for me, I started out as on the consumer side of the SCA. Like I showed up and I participated and I took advantage of this great stage that other people had built. And now I'm on this, the stage where I've got on the side of the stage where I've got a little obligation to set the stage for other people. I'm now kind of that. I look at it as somebody, I can't remember who said it this way, but I'm now an NPC in somebody else's hero story. And it's taking that role on to, I'm not on the side of, coming and taking advantage of the SCA anymore. I'm on the side of making sure that the SCA is there for other people to take advantage of and enjoy, and to carry some of the burden so that people can come in and play and leave if that's what they got to do, or to make sure that there's fun things to do and that fun can happen.
I actually got a pretty similar view of Edmund. When I started, the SCA was just this big mystery, there's knights and there's kings and stuff, and it was this great God knows how anything happens, just they're way up on high. And now kind of the curtain has been pulled back. I've been there, I've done it all, and now I look at it and go, now that I know how everything runs, it's now I think it's kind of not necessarily my job, but it's what I love doing is finding that person that wants to actually get a little deeper in and figure out, well, what really is kind of behind that curtain, and can I get involved in it? And I love finding those people and go, yeah, you can, and here's how. Try to get their motivation up. I've had a number of people come to me and say, well, how do you possibly get into a royal household? And I'll answer the question for them and even talk to them about certain people and stuff, This is how you do it. This is what you want to do. Warning you, you're insane. You're going to say goodbye to about a year of your life. But a lot of work. You will see a lot. And it's that kind of stuff. You find that, to me, that goal is to find that person and just like, okay, here's where you want to go.
Excellent. Thanks, gents. And Sammy, I'm sorry I called you Samuel. I don't have my glasses on, and the print is really small. So, you know me, brother. Sorry. All right. So,
Vain. I'm wearing my glasses.
but they're all the way over there, and I'd have to.
Oh,
I have to actually like leave the show and come. Okay, so that's all right. Sammy will give me shit for it later. Hey,
yeah, he is.
shut up, Cal. Our next question. Let's see. This one comes from Lady Runa from Marides. Another one of my favorite people. Tell us about a time that you remember seeing an unbelted fighter do knightly things.
Trying to remember. It's been so long since I've actually been to an event or done anything besides be on ESCA.
Yeah, I hear you.
Last thing I think I remember was probably the last Penzic I was at, and it was just a bunch of people hanging out, talking like we do, and it was getting early. And things were breaking up, and one of the people there was just like, well, I'm going to head back to camp. And this one guy jumped up. He goes, I'll walk you. She's like, it's fine. I only live like 2 blocks that way, and I know that you live like 8 blocks that way down by the bog. He's like, I don't care. No. And you're right. Nothing's going to happen. But no, I'm walking you home. Nobody said anything. Nobody brought it up. Nobody thought this needed to be done. He just felt that it should be done.
Mm-hmm.
And once everything got done, I saw him the next day. I told him straight up, I'm like, that was really well said, man. You didn't tell her you thought that she needed help. Just you wanted to offer some. That was probably the last one I remember. That was a while ago, but
But it stuck in your head, so that means it's important.
So it's hard for me to put my finger on a particular incident because, I mean, it's really common around where I'm at for people to behave in a knightly manner.
Yep.
They may not have all the parts to be a knight, but most folks who get into the SCA have that fantastical idea, that romanticized idea of courtly behavior and heroism and chivalry and courtesy and all those things. And so even though they may not have a belt or baldric yet, that's kind of the way they're aimed, and so that's kind of the way they behave. So it's kind of all around, almost all the time. It's very rare where people, people occasionally will get out of their lane and do something, that's a mistake. And we all have done that, and we all will. I mean, it happens. But by and large, I think that the SCA lives to that ideal as kind of a base behavior. So it's hard to pick out one star of the sky and draw attention to it when the others sparkle just as brightly. Wow, that was poetic.
That was.
That was weird coming from you, man. That was really, really weird coming from you.
That'd be good.
It actually makes sense. I don't know where you got that from.
No, that was very well said. I like that. All right, so our next question comes from the Honorable Lord Thorin Ulfson from the East. Sorry, Thorin.
Oh.
How important do you feel weapons depth is on the path to the SCA? Should someone be a master of several different weapons on the path, or is that something that you can focus on after elevation?
For me, if you don't have weapons depth, you're not a knight. I don't expect you to be able to beat everybody with every weapons form, but if I see you fighting with something, I shouldn't be thinking, is he authorized in that? You've got to be able to go out there and be competent with everything, and be very good with at least one thing. I mean, that's just It's just my personal bugaboo.
Understandable.
Well, this is going to get kind of boring because we're both on the exact same page. I mean, when I first squired to Master Farrell, first thing he said to me when we talked about me squiring to him is, you need to be authorized in everything to be my squire. Never mind anything else. And remember I told you back that story about fighting in Crown as a squire and winning it, my first Crown I was ever at?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was in the finals of Crown, and I had to fight a 2-weapon fight against a member of Chivalry. And we're standing there, and I'd known him for a while. We'd talked about a bunch of things. And he looked at me right before we walked into the list and said, This is the first time in my life that I have fought with a weapon in either hand. And I looked at him, and we both started walking into the list, and I'm thinking, oh my God, are you kidding me? And same thing, you got to be able to fight with everything. I mean, I know a lot of people don't, and it's a personal preference thing. But from my point of view, you shouldn't be embarrassing yourself with almost anything you can pick up.
I mean, I get that people are going to have their favorite
Yes.
weapon.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
You know,
oh yeah,
that's absolutely normal. Like one weapon is going to sing to you. It's
Yep.
the right one for you. But
Mhm.
you got to be able to pick up the others because at some point, if you're going to be a knight, you're going to have squires, and those
Yep.
squires are going to need to learn to fight all those weapons for them. Or you
Right.
could be in fight practice and be asked to teach somebody, and they need to learn. They need to be able to learn from you. And if you don't know how to use a weapon, how are you going to teach somebody else to do it? And then and if you try, you just make a problem that some other knight or experienced fighters going to have to come in and unteach them all the stupid shit you just showed them, and then okay.
Exactly. All right. Ooh, oh wow, we're burning up the time here. I swear, every time I get on this show, the time flies faster and faster. Actually, when we have good guests, it flies fast. There have been a couple where it crawled a little bit until we found a subject that they really enjoyed. So let's get to the next one. This is from Coin from Kaid. Once you are a king, how do you balance the needs of the kingdom? Meaning, as you both stated, not everyone is a fighter, and they all deserve their place in the sun. So how do you balance that? Because I mean, you get to that throne being a fighter,
Yep.
And then you have to be a diplomat.
Well, it really comes down to when you're on the throne. Are you there to make yourself look good, or are you there to promote your kingdom, to make everybody else's fun equal yours? I know personally, every time I've been on the throne, the goal is to try to get as many people as humanly possible to have as much fun as I'm having.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't care who you are, what you do. If you are striving to be better at whatever it is that you do, then you deserve your place in the sun. I mean, the one that always sticks with me is I gave somebody our kingdom level arts award for medieval fishing.
Oh, nice.
I mean, he had hooks made up that from a blacksmith so that they were period. He had papers done on what they used for fishing line. It was insane. And I thought it was one of the greatest things there. He found his niche. He ran with it. Another guy did a full thing on what a medieval surgeon would have with him and carry with him at all times to be a surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
He had an entire rollout of what medieval doctors always carried. And that was one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen. I looked at that and went, oh, hell, nobody's coming near me with any of that stuff. You are crazy. But once again, This person found their niche. I loved it. Everybody should have that works for it should have their shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, as royalty, Balfar's got the right of it. I mean, you're walking around with a spotlight, shining it on other people, and
Bingo.
And you've got to make it a priority. You've got to accept a level of discomfort. As when I was the first time I was king, I was pretty much a stick jock, and I had to hey, there's other stuff going on, and I need to spend time checking that out and meeting those people and giving them the time of the royalty and putting the spotlight on them. And what once you've done the royal gig a couple times, you kind of get into a good rhythm of how you can divide and conquer. Like, okay, I'm going to spend some time over at the list field while you're over at the A&S tent, and then you go check out the hound coursing, and I'm going to go to the archery range, and then we'll both meet up and do this thing, and then we'll go back and do these other things. Then we sign scrolls, and so you've got a royal partner. Because you can't do everything. There's too much.
It's impossible.
And you certainly can't do everything well, but you can do enough. And between the two of you, you get the attention. You spread the royal attention around so that everybody gets a little bit of that spotlight.
That's probably some of a very good question and some of the best answers I've ever heard. Yeah, that seems to me to be exactly what it takes. And I mean, if you're going to be a royal, you've already won the spot. You can't fight again, so go do all the other stuff. That's the time to go and see what everybody else is doing, and a little bit of the royal magic along with you.
But to a point too, I mean, when you're royal, you need to take the field because people want to fight the king. My first event, that story from my first event, coolest thing ever. I fought the king.
You cannot let that slide either.
So you've got to go out and give people some of your time there too. But but then you also have to hit the archery range, and you also have to hit rapier field and the ANS and all the activities that are going on. You've got to hit it all to some extent.
Absolutely. Well said, gentlemen. All right, so let's get through a couple more questions here. If you guys don't mind, we might go just a little bit long tonight because there's some really good questions here that have been submitted, and I would like to get to as many of them as I can.
We got to hope Edmund can stay awake. We're getting past his bedtime here. You got to be careful. You got to watch the old timers like that.
This is what I'm looking forward to. I can't wait till
Love you, bro.
Again, and we can see the two of you, take up your differences on the field. I'm gonna have to record that and throw it out there.
Well, he'll have to send a robot out because he can't walk anymore.
We'll get a couple of those newbies to pull you out in a cart.
There we go.
They got to get their exercise somehow. Right.
I need 4 newbies.
So this one comes from the hardest working man in the ESCA, and I do not say this lightly. This one comes from Lord Kal himself of Merides. What are your thoughts on weird weapon or weird rule tournaments to force fighters out of their comfort zone?
I enjoy weird weapons tournaments. Doing a pole arm tourney or a great sword or something off brand. I don't, with the way the question is framed, I don't know that I like the idea of forcing somebody out of their comfort zone. Making somebody conform to your weirdness. I don't know that I care for that. But if you encourage and draw in people to play with new and different things, I'm all for that.
Okay. From my thing is if you're setting up an event or a tournament that's advertised as such, as a weird weapons, weird rules, however you want to do this, I live for this shit. For somebody whose worst weapons form is sword and shield, I love this kind of crap. You want to get into something weird? Sure, why not? Let's go to town. There is realistically, honestly, there is nothing more insane than two guys going at each other with bucklers and daggers. I mean, it is absolute insanity, and it is a blast.
Yeah.
Now, when you get stuck with that form fighting somebody with a Dane axe, it's fun, but it's a different kind of fun.
No Madus. No Madus.
Honestly, I don't care.
We can't do Florentine Madu.
I don't care.
I'd love to see that one.
I told you, man. I'm in for it. Insanity, bring it on. When I was years ago, when I was actually in my prime and winning my crowns and stuff, we used to have these things we used to fight with every now and again just for fun. We'd call them pipe mauls. We would take, it's not a real pipe. Cut it out, Edmund, you goob. You take about 3.5 feet of rattan and you put a mace head with a thrusting tip on one end of it and a butt spike on the other end of it. And two guys go in with just these. No second weapon, no shield, just like a 3.5, 4 foot mace with a butt spike and a thrusting tip on the end of it.
It's a great
go in and just go.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a blast.
Now I'm going to have to make some of those. All right, so gents, we've already gone over our allotted time, but I've got one more question that I want to get to, and that one is all the way at the end down. It is from Sir Sterling. What style, format, or type of a tourney would you like to see at Pennsic or a big war event that you wish you could play in?
Yeah, Sterling. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, you're gonna throw this at me, you jerk. Type of big format tourney. I would have to. Okay, I'll just say it right out. Polearm tourney, massive polearm tourney.
I'm there.
Bring out your poles. Let's go out there. Let's do it.
I'm there for it.
Or seeding that 4.5 foot, 4 foot maces. Something nuts like that.
T-ball tourney, yeah. I'll be honest. My very first Pennsic, Atenveld hosted a tournament that was a 5-list, 5 weapons tourney. Polearm, okay. 2-handed sword, 2 weapons, sword and shield, and mace and shield. And then several years later, Felix and Brian, when they were crowns from the Middle and the East, did something similar, a 4-list tournament. And that where you're climbing the trees in each of these tournaments, and I didn't understand the total workings of it because it all came together somehow towards the end to make a champion. I didn't grok all that. I was just having a great time fighting because you get to play with all the things, and you're running from one tourney field to the next tourney field and switching from your gauntlets to your swords to your shields or whatever, and it was just chaos and so much fun. So that would be my favorite. Nice.
Oh, Lady Runa, hammers and axes, the dwarven tourney. I'm down for that.
Yeah, and before that, Thorin brought up a tournament that I had run fairly recently. Yeah, 6 foot and under glaives.
Yeah,
I'm there.
Glaives are great swords, nothing over 6 feet tall. Get everybody in a big circle, all in there, Grand Roman melee, yell lay on, see who's standing at the end.
I'm 100% down for that. Well, gents, this is a crab fork tourney.
What the heck is a crab fork tourney?
How about a crab fork feast? I can see that happening.
Melee would be over before I got into it because I'd have to figure out which one was the crab fork.
Yeah, I hear that. I'm like, crap. Wait a minute. What am I getting here? What am I using?
You'd be the guy running on the field yelling "spoon."
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
I have to thank you again for being on the show. I have to thank all of our wonderful viewers out there for coming and watching us. And so, if you're viewing this show and you would like to make it better, why not consider maybe becoming a patron? You can go right over there. You can show your support at patreon.com/KK Productions. If you can, great. If you can't, that's also great. You can also do a one-time monetary donation, but it helps us do things like get us new microphones and cameras and stuff like that so that we can continue making content for you, because nobody pays us to do this. And yes, we are crazy because we continue to do it week after week. But no, seriously, it's for love of the SEA and love of all of you out there in the gnome world. We also have stickers on Redbubble. So if you want to get something snazzy for yourself, like a fantastic Ask the Knights sticker. Where are my stickers? Wait. I have them right here.
You sure you do? You positive?
I'm 100% positive. Look, they're right.
I don't know. I hear a lot of talk. I don't see no action.
Bam!
Oh,
Look
there
at
you
that.
go. Okay, there you
Right?
go.
You want an Ask the Knight sticker? You go over to Redbubble, and you all you have to do is search KK Productions on Redbubble, and all of our different stickers will pop up. If you want a Cowboys Corner sticker, a What You Play Wednesday, all the goofy stuff that we have over there, go and check it out. Even if you don't buy it, go and take a look, because just taking a look is a great thing. Another thing you can do to help out our show is to flat snap the hell out of that like button. The more likes we get, the more we get out there and more people get to see this. So go ahead and just pound the shit out of that thing, because we can use the help. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we do this for no pay. Phrase. Oh. Are we still doing phrasing? Is that a thing? Okay, so we're still doing phrasing. So before we end tonight, gentlemen, this is a question I like to ask all of my guests who are on the show. Is there anything that you would suggest to get people in the medieval mindset? Maybe if they're working on a project or another show that you guys like to watch, books, movies, TV, anything that gets your medieval going. Do you have any suggestions?
Honestly, when I work on projects, I do like to put on the old classics, Excalibur, anything with Errol Flynn, Highlander, Knight Riders, any of those old films that were kind of the films that got me going about medieval stuff. I'll put one of those in. I've seen it enough times. I can do what I'm doing, and I can hear what's going on, and I know what's happening. And it just kind of makes the project go easier and more fun.
Absolutely.
I'm in the same boat. For me, it's whatever movie does it for you. Let's face it, different people have different movies or shows that's their thing, that feeds them. You watch it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, like the original Excalibur, when they're all riding through the forest with the cherry blossoms coming down.
Yes.
With O Fortuna in the background. Yeah. It's just like, that just gets me. But find whatever it is, that movie that's yours, throw it on, go do something.
Absolutely, 100%. And I will throw in one that it just came back to me when you guys said Excalibur, but that is if you've never seen it, it's worth going to see. I know it's on Amazon Prime. The Court Jester with Danny Kaye.
Oh, the vessel with the pestle has the brew that is true.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah.
Pellet with the poison is in the vessel with the pestle. That's right.
Yeah. If you've not,
I've never seen it. No idea what you're talking about.
If you've not seen that movie, you've got to see it. It is an older movie, but it holds up. It's kind of like if Monty Python did a musical, ish, with Danny Kaye.
Ish, yeah, ish.
And that's what my knighting ceremony looked like. So.
Well, there you go. Yeah, the knighting ceremony I love the tests for knighthood. Yeah, that anyway, watch the movie, you'll enjoy it. As always, I have to pimp out. No, I don't have to pimp out. I have to shout out, because if I pimp out my sibling show, those two beautiful ladies will come and kill me. So I will shout.
That can be entertaining. I'm willing to risk it.
For everybody but me. So I
Yeah.
will shout out Between Two Peers, who are on a break right now. Yes, I know. Everybody get out of the comments and don't tell me that they're on a break. I know they're on a break, but they have a vast back catalog. If you haven't seen all of their shows, go back onto YouTube and watch. And don't forget to like all of their shows. And while you're on YouTube, why don't you go back and watch and like all of our shows over here on Ask the Knights Live. Because if you're not watching Between Two Peers or Ask the Knights Live, I don't know what the hell you're doing. You're wasting time. Those are two great shows to binge while you're working on projects, because you really don't have to pay attention to us at all. I didn't say that. That was a joke. I mean, never mind. Okay, so I will end by saying, yeah, see Cal, he never pays attention. And he works on the damn show. So I swear to God, like Johnny Carson got Edmund Man, I get Cal. Like life is
I think you two are really stepping yourself up if you're comparing yourself to them. Come on, guys.
Hey, you can't look this pretty without comparing yourself to the greats. Just saying. I know. I like. I'm not wearing my glasses. I did this earlier. So with that, as Cal said, good night, everybody. Thank you for watching. I hope you come back next week, where we have 2 more fantastic nights just for you to ask awesome questions of. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Good night.